Hi students, I wanted to spend a little bit of time today talking about finding scholarly sources using the Briggs Library database. Now many of you, when you start a research project, maybe the first place that you start looking for sources is Google. And that's fine if you're only using it to familiarize yourself with the topic and then also for purposes of popular sources. But when it comes to scholarly sources, remember that because you're enrolled as an SDSU student, you have free access to the SDSU Briggs Library databases, which houses many peer-reviewed articles, books, other scholarly articles that you wouldn't be able to access without paying for. So that's why, for instance, I've linked SDSU Briggs Libraries here. So if you click on that, it will pull up this website. And they really have designed this search engine to be similar to a Google search. Okay, so for example, for our privilege analysis essay, for our narrative argument essay, I had a student last semester and she experienced a lot of sexual discrimination and sexual harassment when she was a hostess at a restaurant at her part-time job. And so she wrote her narrative about some of the things that she witnessed and experienced, and then she did some research on sexual harassment. So let's say I want to find some scholarly sources on that topic, maybe some case law, maybe some peer-reviewed research or things like that. This works like Google. So I can type in my search term or terms, but one thing to keep in mind is, like, with Google, you'd probably put in a whole sentence, like, what is sexual harassment question. With Briggs Library databases, you want to keep it to terms like this one. You could also combine terms like this and just use the word and. If you want to search for these two words put together, you can also put quotation marks around them. And then you hit enter. My computer is being slow. One second, sorry. Okay, sorry about that. Apparently my computer did not like it when I tried to record and press enter at the same time. So I went back and I did sexual harassment. You'll notice that this gives us a lot of results, and that's kind of tough to work with. You could probably peruse some of these and find a couple, but if you refine these terms, like I said, by putting in and employment or maybe and women or whatever term, however you want to narrow it, that will bring your results down more and more. Okay, and another way that you can narrow these results is if you look on the left side of your screen, there's some filters here. So we know that peer-reviewed journals means that other scholars in the field have reviewed the articles and they've said yes, these are based on current and accurate research, so those are always going to be scholarly. So you could narrow it there. You could also narrow it, for instance, if you don't have access to come to Briggs Library, you could narrow it to full text online. Okay. You could also adjust the date. We know that our sources we want to be within, 15 years or so, anything more recent than that. We don't want to go too far back because then our research is not, very current. Okay. You can also search by type. Okay. And so these filters also help you to narrow your search. A couple things that I just wanted to point out here. Make sure that you're signed in. If you click here, it will prompt you to enter your SDSU email, username, and password. By signing in, you're able to read the article when you're off campus. Okay, so that's super important. That way, only people who actually attend SDSU or teach for SDSU are able to read these. So make sure that you're signed in. Again, it's your email, username, and password. Excuse me. And some other tips and tricks. So for instance, let's say I like this one. I can print it. I can view full text options. If I'm signed in, it will pull up the full article. I can also view the citation, which is super helpful. Make sure that you select MLA 8th edition, and then you can copy and paste that into your document or wherever you need it. It saves you a little bit of time. Just make sure that you double check it up against your SMH. And then another cool thing you can do is you can email it to yourself so that you always have it, or if you're signed in, you can pin it. And pinning it basically works like a favorites function, but that only works, again, if you're signed in, okay? So this is a super brief tutorial on just sort of getting started with doing some scholarly research on our topics. Make sure that you're using those pre-writing strategies on listing that you've read about, or brainstorming, or webbing, and things like that. That will help you generate these terms. Because again, if you do it in a question format, or if you include too many terms, the database doesn't really recognize that. So using these short terms, and you can keep stringing them, along to narrow it even further. But that's just one example. As always, please let me know what questions you have, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you.